All right, so move on to the next segment. I'll be sharing my fight prediction in the sport of boxing between Virgil Ortiz Jr. and Erickson Lubin. So, this weekend in the sport of boxing, Virgil Ortiz Jr. is back in action, and he will be defending his WBC interim super welterweight championship against Erickson Lubin this weekend in the sport of boxing. So these are my following storylines heading into this super welterweight fight between these two respective fighters. First storyline is, can Virgil Ortiz continue his momentum at the super welterweight division at 154 in the sport of boxing? Now, I've said it time in and time out when I get the chance to talk about Virgil Ortiz on the Combat Series that I do believe that he could be the next big thing in the sport of boxing. I think he has all the skills. He has a good, strong fan base thus far, early into his career in his late 20s. He's a knockout machine. 21 victories come away of knockout. Like, this guy can put asses in seats, and he has a good promoter in Oscar De La Hoya. He's signed with Golden Boy Promotions. I think this guy could be an absolute star in the sport of boxing. Now, the question is, can he continue this momentum at 154? He is 2-0 since joining the division. And he picked up, the last time we seen him in the sport, he picked up a big victory against Israel Madrimov on that huge Dmitry Bivol and Arthur Beterbiev fight card that took place in February early on in the year. So he defeated a former world champion. That is a huge win. That was the biggest win of Virgil Ortiz's career thus far. So if he could get one step closer to being a world champion, fighting for a world championship, defeating Erickson Lubin, or getting one of the biggest paydays of his career, I'm all in for it. But it starts this weekend fighting a veteran, crafty fighter in Erickson Lubin this weekend in the sport of boxing. The next storyline is, can Erickson Lubin win the big one? Now, Erickson Lubin is no scrub in my opinion. I think he's a top 10 super welterweight fighter. Touched up on that last week on the Combat Series when I talked about the top 10 fighters in the sport of boxing at the super welterweight division. This is a division that's very deep and talented. And Erickson Lubin deserves his credit to be up there with the big names. He just needs some big wins and needs the big one. But I think he's still looking for that signature win in his career. Could he get it this weekend? It's possible. A good amateur record. Erickson Lubin has a really good amateur record, but he has not won a world championship since being a pro. A victory Saturday night against Virgil Ortiz, winning the interim WBC Super Welterweight Championship, could put him in line to be the mandatory for Sebastian Fundora for the WBC title early part of 2026. Or I should say the winner of Sebastian Fundora and Keith Thurman when they fight each other for the WBC title in the early part of 2026. So a lot is on the line for both respective fighters that could be in line for a future world title shot early part of 2026. So enough of the storylines. Let's get to the tail of the tape here. My tail of the tape, you have Erickson Lubin. Erickson Lubin has 27 victories, 2 losses in his boxing career. 19 victories come away of knockout. Stands at 5'11" with a reach of 74 inches. Then I'm looking at the interim champion, Virgil Ortiz Jr. Virgil Ortiz Jr. is 23-0. 21 victories come away of knockout. Currently the reigning defending WBC super welterweight interim champion. Stands at 5'10" with a reach of 70 inches. So the height and the reach goes in favor of the challenger Erickson Lubin heading into this interim championship fight this weekend in the sport of boxing. Now, the game plans that I have for these respective fighters to follow. Starting off with Erickson Lubin. I think Erickson Lubin, one of his best keys to victory, he needs to set up traps against Virgil Ortiz. And he can set up traps with Virgil Ortiz coming in, trying to make the fight happen in the inside. And that's one of the things that Virgil Ortiz likes to do. I'll touch up on that in a few moments. But Erickson Lubin does do a good job baiting his opponents in, trying to bring them in to fight on the inside. And Erickson Lubin, we know he's a southpaw fighter. And for a southpaw fighter, if you bring your opponents in, you like to catch them coming in on the inside, which that's one of the things that Erickson Lubin likes to do offensively. That could be one of the key ingredients for Erickson Lubin to win this fight against Virgil Ortiz. Because Virgil Ortiz has been dropped by some power shots in the past. So this could be a really brilliant idea for Erickson Lubin in his corner. They keep baiting Virgil Ortiz to come in, and Erickson Lubin could catch him with a counter shot, possibly right hand. That could lead to a world of success for Erickson Lubin in this fight. Speaking of the right hand, he should use the right hand. The right hand of destruction. Erickson Lubin did not get the nickname Hammer for not the wrong reasons in the sport of boxing. I mean, he doesn't have flashy power, but it's enough power to get it done. And if he could keep Virgil Ortiz Jr. off of him, second guessing, fighting on the inside with that right hand, and mixing it up with some counter shots, some 1-2 combinations, mixing it up offensively. Don't got to be pretty, but it could be effective to keep Virgil Ortiz second guessing and to play mind games with him of how Virgil Ortiz wants to approach the fight offensively if he's taking some punishment from the power shots that Erickson Lubin could possibly give him. Last but not least, I think Erickson Lubin has to win the counterpunching battle. Now, you're asking to fight fire with fire, possibly trying to win a counterpunching battle with Virgil Ortiz, but it has to be done if you want to win this fight. You got to pull through, fight fire with fire, trust your best assets because Erickson Lubin is a good counter puncher. If he can follow these game plans, I think he has a chance to defeat Virgil Ortiz Jr. Saturday in the sport of boxing. Now, with the interim champion, Virgil Ortiz, the game plans, I think he should land the right hand, lead with the right hand. Now, just like Erickson Lubin, Virgil Ortiz packs a punch with that right hand. Now, I've seen Virgil knock out opponents several times with the right hand of the destruction in the past, and I've seen Erickson Lubin actually get knocked out in the past by a right hand shot that hit plush on the chin, plush on the button by Jermell Charlo. Now, that was back in 2017, but if it ain't broke, don't fix it. If you see it on film, capitalize on it because his chin could be more vulnerable years removed from that fight. Next, I think Virgil Ortiz should attack the body. Now, if this man attacks the body, if he hits home to Erickson Lubin, that's going to shut everything down for Erickson Lubin. He's going to move very fragile in that boxing ring. He's not going to move with a lot of speed, a lot of intensity, and that could really slow down and hurt Erickson Lubin if Virgil Ortiz attacks the body. He could use feints well to trick his opponents to believe that he's aiming upstairs. He's a really dangerous fighter if he could get the start landing the body shots. And if he could and especially Virgil Ortiz is really at home landing the body shots if he has his opponents pressed up on the ropes, their back pressed up on the ropes, and he can start teeing up with some feints, act like he's going upstairs, and then go downstairs to the body, start targeting the bodies, wear his opponents down. So I think that could be a good game plan for Virgil Ortiz as I get tongue-tied. Last but not least, make this fight a phone booth fight. And what I mean by a phone booth fight, if the fight is taking place on the inside, go blow for power shots. That is honestly Virgil Ortiz's bread and butter. This man has no limitations when a fight is in the inside. He's going power for power, blow for blow for a phone booth fight. That is honestly the best version of Virgil Ortiz. He is he has killer instincts, and once he smells blood in the water, that's all she wrote. Because this man, I have not seen him go down from a physical standpoint, offensively, fighting in a phone booth fight, fighting fire with fire for power shots ever in his boxing career in his first 23 pro fights. So I think that could be a good key ingredient for Virgil Ortiz. So that's the game plans. Let's get into the predictions. So with that being said, I'm going to go with Virgil Ortiz Jr. to knock out Erickson Lubin this weekend in the sport of boxing. Now, I think this could be a really good fight at the super welterweight division. This is one of the deepest divisions in the sport of boxing in terms of talent across all boxing divisions. You'll see a glimpse of that this weekend where Virgil Ortiz and Erickson Lubin fight each other. But I think this could be a fun fight as long as it lasts. But Virgil Ortiz Jr. is just going to break down Erickson Lubin as the fight goes on. I think he's going to be too much for Erickson Lubin to handle, and Virgil Ortiz is going to win the counter-punching battle. I think he's going to win the counter-punching battle. He has the faster hand speed than Erickson Lubin. He's more explosive. He's going to land more power shots on Erickson Lubin. I think that right hand of destruction, like I just touched up on a few moments ago, is going to land home to Erickson Lubin. We've seen him knocked out by Jermell Charlo in the past by a right hand shot that has hit plush on the chin and right on the button to knock him out in the past. I think Virgil Ortiz is going to do that. And guys, if this gets to a phone booth fight, it's over. That's the best version of Virgil Ortiz. He smells blood in the water. He has those killer instincts when it gets to a phone booth fight. Fighting on the inside, he's going to land a lot of power shots to break down Erickson Lubin. Again, if he goes to the body to soften up Erickson Lubin, slow him down offensively, I said Erickson Lubin is going to be very fragile. He's not going to want to move around much once those power shots land to the body. I think he's going to put away Erickson Lubin. Give me round 7 through 12. Virgil Ortiz will land the knockout victory. A fun fight as long as it lasts, but give me Virgil Ortiz to win this fight by knockout and send a strong message to the rest of the champions in this division, and a message to Jaron Ennis for a future fight down the line.